What is up, podcast listeners? Today is February 20th, and we are the ndkartshop project. I am your host, Anthony Cope, and I will be touching on a few things here in the course of the next few minutes. It's not going to be a real long podcast. I've found that the quicker I get to my message, it seems like people respond better. And if you've known me for more than 10 minutes, you know I get a little long-winded sometimes. So with that being said, the course of this podcast today, we're going to touch on a little bit of setup work. There's a little bit of a misconception out there that you have to do a setup every time you touch the track. That's not entirely true. In some cases, I mean, if you get there and you're really far off, you might have to do a whole new setup, throw it on the scales in between every race. But for the most part, if you get there and you have a baseline to start from, I mean, every track your baseline is going to be a little different. You're not going to have a one size fits all. So a little bit of work in between each event is definitely going to be necessary. But the idea or the consensus that you have to, every time you touch the track, throw the cart on the scales, it's a little overkill in my opinion. Like I say, this is one guy's opinion. I personally feel that if you can get a baseline in your cart that is within the realm of the track that you're at, and it's clicking, but you're just missing something, it's probably your tires. I'm an avid believer in the tire game. For the most part, I don't have the budget, even though I am a kart shop. I don't have the budget to be able to operate at the level of having 4 or 5 sets of tires to choose from. I typically have to get 3 sets, 2 sets at times put together ahead of time, and that's what I have to work with and nothing more. And most of you have that option. You have the 2 set option, or if you're a really shoestring budget, you're on that 2 set for the season, and that's going to get kind of tough. Then you're really going to have to rely on hitting your setup a lot closer. There are some guys out there that are winning races that are hitting their setup within a ballpark, and then they're dialing it the rest of the way into their tires. Their tires are making up the gap, making up the distance. If you're on that shoestring budget where you only have the option of 2 sets and that's what you got for the season, I'd suggest try and get some more sponsorship to get you a couple more sets of tires. But if that's what you got, it's what you got. We're going to have to just I would suggest working the tires to be more broad. That's how I would roll them myself. I would give them a little bit more of a range. You might have to do a re-roll halfway through the season to try and freshen them back up. But you're going to have to get really good at hitting that setup mark and hitting it right dead center every time. That way you have the freest rolling, best flexing, best rotating cart in the field, and then you don't have to rely so much on your tires, because over a long stretch, those first couple events, those tires are going to be pretty good. But you get into a touring series where you have 4 or 5 events over the course of a summer, and some of them events you have a 50-lap feature that you can qualify for. Those tires are going to start giving up real quick. You're going to want to try and take care of them and really watch them, because if they start giving up too much, you're just going to be wasting money showing up to the track. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. You got to take a swing for the fences every time, and every once in a while an old set of tires is exactly what you need. But I will say that an older set of tires over time, they're they're going to start giving out on you. And I've seen it before where a race has been lost in the last 10 laps because the tires just flat gave up. I mean, it's done it to me. That's the shoestring budget. I've tried to build this whole race shop around, kart shop around, is the idea that a shoestring budget and a shoestring small budget race team can still make it in the big time, and it is still possible. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not saying that if you have a shoestring budget, stay away. No, what I'm saying is you're going to have to work a lot harder, and you're going to have to do a lot more homework before you get to the track to make sure that you're dialed in, and you're going to have your driver be in that zone all the time. And every lap is going to have to be a replica of a faster lap. So that's kind of where I'm going. Just to kind of wrap this up and just give you some quick value notes. I don't believe that perfect zero on a go-kart is the right answer. I mean, I believe a good setup, like for our TG3s, our baseline setup for our TG3s is 65 to 67 in the cross, 60 to 63 in the left, 45 to 47 in the nose. Pretty generic numbers, but from that, based on the track you're going to, you can adjust up or down. Now, if you're on a bull ring track, you're going to want to adjust that left side number a little bit. If you're on a super speedway, that left and that cross number is going to need to get adjusted. So you got to really kind of watch and babysit where you're at. Make sure you're hitting your numbers and write down everything. That is the one thing I can suggest. Make sure you record everything. Every note, everything that you do, write it down. It's going to help you in the long run. So with that, I hope this is, it's a real brief, light touch on some setup tips. What I believe, you don't need to do scaling every single time you touch a track. But I do believe you need to do your homework in between each event, each race weekend. So with that, I hope you guys have a great Tuesday, a great week. I'll talk to you again on Thursday. Thanks, guys.